everyone. I'm Denise Garth, Chief Strategy Officer at Majesco, and you're listening to the Future of Insurance Industry Leaders podcast series. Follow along as I interview the best and brightest leaders in the insurance industry and insurtech landscape to bring you the latest in digital transformation, innovation, industry trends, challenges, and opportunities, as well as next-gen technologies. We use our experience to anticipate what's next without losing sight of what's now. Stay tuned to find out your next now. Welcome, everybody, to today's podcast for the Future of Insurance podcast series. I am absolutely thrilled today to have Sandeep, Mangaraj, and Manish Shah joining me on this podcast. Sandeep and Manish will give a little bit of background here, but welcome, guys. This is going to be a fabulous conversation given all of the technology innovations happening in the marketplace, including AI and Gen AI. Welcome.
Thank you, Denise, and thanks for having us.
Thanks, Denise.
I always like to start off the podcast series to make sure that people know who everybody is. While it's a small community, I still find that new people who are coming into the industry sometimes don't know some of the people who are really leading some of the really exciting things in the industry. So, Sandeep, why don't we start with you? Give a little bit of background on yourself, your role, and a strategic partnership. And then, Manish, you can do the same. So, Sandeep, why don't you start?
So I am Sandeep Mangaraj. I lead the US FinTech team here at Microsoft. And what that means is I get the privilege of working with customers such as Majesco, who are at the leading edge of driving innovation in insurance and allied industries. So that's what I do day in and day out. What I've seen over the last 2 years is that our relationship has blossomed into a true partnership. If you go back a few years, it was more a traditional vendor-supply relationship in which we would periodically engage, typically around contract renewals. But now we're actually invested in each other's success. And that is what, motivates me. That's what motivates our team. One of the challenges that Manish, for example, has thrown at us, and I'm hoping we're stepping up to that, is we are in this together. Let's go to market together. Let's make sure that we develop a joint value proposition and take it to our insurance customers. That's the journey we're in. And in return, Majesco is investing in some of our frontier technologies. And what that does is that not only it helps accelerate Majesco's innovation journey, it actually also gives us very valuable feedback that our product teams then can incorporate and the wider industry can benefit. So this is a strategic relationship that I'm really proud of. And I appreciate you taking time and talking to us. And Manish, your sponsorship here has been absolutely critical. So thank you. And just by way of background, I've been in financial services all my career. I started in retail credit risk, then became a consultant. I was a partner at a big four firm, so got the privilege of working with leading insurance companies, banking and capital market customers. And so change and transformation, that's the life of a consultant. That's what I've done all my life, and that's now in my DNA.
Wonderful, Manish.
Thank you, Sandeep, and thanks for joining us in the podcast with us. This is an incredible time with an incredible partnership that we are having together in terms of doing something that is actually has not never done before. And there's been an AI buzz as we understand it, cloud buzz as we understand it. We all know that at the end of the day, extracting those buzzwords and extracting the technology to build it in a meaningful and a purposeful way that delivers the business value that can be measured in a real returns is what our joint mission is. And this is what we really love about this partnership, that we're like-minded on that. We do complement each other in terms of insurance and technology with a significant overlap also into the insurance and technology. So we love working with you, and what we have done together in just last 12 months, while our partnership goes beyond 5 years. It's just phenomenal. So just as a quick introduction, Manish Shah, I'm a President and Chief Product Officer at Majesco. Majesco is committed to insurance, and so am I. It's been 25 plus years, and pretty much most of my professional life that's been, into the insurance and technology space. It's been an exciting journey. I think I can tell you that the journey has been even more excited in the last 3-4 years, as the pace of change and acceptance of the technology has been, far more exceeded than the previous one, and looks like that it's not going to stop. So look forward to this conversation, Denise and Sandeep.
Kind of play off of what both of you kind of talked about in the deepening partnership and relationship. One of the foundational elements of Majesco's product strategy, Manish, is really that technical, next generation technical architecture across the products.
that really helps our customers, the insurers and brokers and MGAs, really face the challenges and help them position for the future. Why don't you take a little bit of time and talk about the Microsoft offerings and how we've leveraged them and integrated them into the Majesco products for greater value for our customers, specifically around the cloud native architecture, the open API standards, the headless architecture, and obviously Microsoft microservices and containerization. And Sandeep, you can participate in this because I know there's been a lot of back and forth and collaboration between you and Manish on this whole area. So Manish?
Sure. I mean, I think we touched upon a little bit onto the previous podcast on this topic, but,
Yep.
Majesco is committed to deliver the business value by leveraging the best of the best technologies in a meaningful manner. And I think that what we saw pretty much, quite ahead of time than what the industry at that point was adopting to the cloud is right away we saw that, okay, there is a significant value in terms of, bringing all the system of records, system of engagement, system of insights, everything that to be on the cloud. And our definition, our vision for the cloud was significantly broader than just sort of hosting in someone else's data center. The reason why we saw this thing is because we saw the pace of change has to accelerate. And we saw cloud a means in terms of providing that pace of change that would otherwise not be possible for our customers. But then also more importantly, we realized that the platform economy, as it is surging, it's not going to be just always in homogeneous solutions. It's going to require an heterogeneous solutions that works in a homogeneous experience. And I think that basically what the cloud delivers a significant value. Now, obviously, when we talk about cloud, and we had options, to be honest with you, 5-6 years ago. And as you can imagine, all the big cloud players that we looked at it, the reason why we chose Microsoft is because not just because their Azure vision and the capabilities were definitely at minimum at par with the rest of the competitors that were out there, but we saw that their focus on the business application. And we really liked that. We didn't want to just partner with an infrastructure provider. We wanted to have partner with the people who has an experience and commitment to the business application, as Microsoft has demonstrated over many, many years, right? So that's why we engage with Microsoft. And then we quickly learn that getting into the cloud is a lot more difficult in a right way. If you want to get on it, then it sounds. It's not something that you can just take your application and say, let's just go and just host it and deploy it there. Sure, you can do that, but neither of them is going to give you either a pace of change that you want to accelerate or an open platform capabilities that you want to leverage to provide a more broader capability set to your customers. And that's where we actually connected with Microsoft. We understood the well-designed framework that Microsoft has on the cloud. We work with the technologies. We sort of work through it. And again, we took an approach in terms of saying, okay, microservices, APIs, headless transactions, these are all the buzzwords. However, we always have two dimensions. We saw in terms of if you consider the x-axis, what is the technology changes that we want to do in our platform, which ultimately would make sense. But then on the y-axis, we say, what is the business value our customers going to get now? Yeah. And that's how we prioritized it. It was a long 5 years journey. That's when we basically said, okay, how do we work together? The best part of this journey was that it was not saying, oh, okay, here's a vendor partner relationship. Microsoft was always saying that, no, guys, we can do more for you. We have abilities to, touch into your, our technical expertise. And we did that. We challenged each other. I'm sure at times Sandeep might have been a little bit, get frustrated with me and my team, but vice versa, I'm sure as well. But I think we reached to a point where we can say that we have a pretty solid, open, secure, and scalable cloud offering where we brought all our product portfolio, which is pretty vast and very robust, onto the Microsoft technologies, not just using the infrastructure, but also a lot of cloud native services that Azure has to offer. I'll cede to Sandeep if he wants to add more color to it.
Manish, you touched on a lot of factors that are very critical and sometimes get missed in the rush to get value, innovate, right? First of all, I think it's really important to think through what is triggering your move. Right? What are the objectives you're trying to drive, right? So I love the fact that you had clarity from the beginning. It's taking solutions to market faster. It's becoming competitive. It's being nimble. It's being agile. Those goals and having clarity is really important because that drives what are the value drivers you care about, and then what are the enablers you're going to use. Because there are various paths to this, right? There are those who focus on other triggers. They may have a data center lease renewal coming up. They may be running into capacity challenges. And then the path they take, the route they take is different, right? It is also again different if there's a hardware or a software refresh cycle you're working towards. So I think having that clarity is really important. And then the enablers, you talk about a cloud adoption framework. I'm so happy that not only did you adopt it, but you also challenged us and gave us feedback, because this is something that's constantly evolving. The services that are available are evolving. The technology that you can take advantage of is changing, right? So that's the reason, because of the clarity of vision, because of where you are trying to go, because of an appreciation of what are the value drivers and measuring them, because that's again where things get lost in translation, right? We have conversations with customers when they say, I am not getting what I wanted to get, but the what I wanted is not clear, right? And so if you don't measure, you can never improve. And so having that clarity is important. And then on the enabling side, I mean, there are investments that we continue to make and we will continue to make so that we can push each other and innovate here. So the one thing that I'll end up with is, we talked a lot around cloud native architecture, around, I think Manish, in the past, you have talked about the headless architecture. You have a fully headless architecture, microservices and containerization. From the Microsoft side, across all of them, obviously, we are making investments. Another investment that is very important is we are committed to open standards. And we are making sure that what we are building, you can seamlessly integrate with other systems and other organizations, which obviously for a software as a service provider such as Majesco, it's very important. So embracing that open standard is another one I just wanted to touch on before we move.
Something that you both said that I think is really important is that clarity of vision really gets to, I think, we had a strategic kind of view of the relationship, and we didn't just dive down into an operational, I want to reduce my cost or I want to close down the data center. It really started at that strategic level that ultimately gives that really operational value even more lift, of what I would say. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I am looking at my notes because I've been listening to this series, and there's something that Manish talked about which has stayed with me, which is around patient urgency. I think that's a lovely construct because pace of change, evolving customer needs, we all have to deal with that. We know being paranoid is important, but if you don't have clarity of purpose and goals, you're not going to get to where you need to get to.
I think most people misunderstand in terms of partnership with Microsoft. And I think what Microsoft has really transformed over the last few years is they've been very agnostic when it comes to the specific components of technology. So for example, it's not necessary that just because you are in Azure, like you're committed to an entire Microsoft stack. Again, as our focus is where can we give the best value to our customers? The whole idea of Azure-driven cloud software as a service that we are building for insurance is bring the best of breed, bring it together in a way where it gives a very streamlined, best of class user experience, scalability, secured, a platform for insurance companies. So we may use Linux, for example. We don't have to use Windows or we use Oracle. It doesn't matter. It's a purpose-driven, component selections, and Microsoft actually participates in that. It's not like, oh, okay, don't talk to me if it is not my tech stack. So it's just so you know, so there, and that's what we love about this partnership, that there is not a constant pressure in terms of using all Microsoft stack components.
We can't get past without talking about Gen AI, guys. It's the hottest topic in the industry across multiple industries. One of the key things that we've partnered on that we announced it'll be coming up to a year ago, Manish, is our partnership with Microsoft and the offering of CoPilot. The rapid adoption, obviously AI and machine learning have been out there for quite some time. And obviously we're doing some work around that, Manish. But now Gen AI has really turned data and analytics from a long-term strategy of incremental investment into a near-term reality and a must-have. How quickly is it moving from hype to reality? Talk about that partnership. Maybe Manish, if you want to first start.
Let me just for everyone who's going to listen to this, podcast, let me just make sure very clear in explanation of how I see AI versus Gen AI. And I think that there is a bit of a confusion, right? So AI is not new. Gen AI maybe, but AI is not new. In fact, I'll tell you, 3 decades ago, that was my elective in the computer science, undergraduate program. So, AI is not new, as I'm not new. But the purpose of the AI is really to comb through a very, very large sets of data and identify the patterns that usually the human will miss. That's what the AI is for. What the Gen AI is takes it to the next level is to actually translate that into an action. That's really is what hitting the interest everywhere. Now, this is many people ask me, well, that's just an hype like a .com, and who knows? I'm sure time will tell. Obviously, Microsoft and Nvidia shareholders will disagree with that right now because you see that how kind of I was watching CNBC this morning, and Jamie Dimon said that this is not hype, this is real. And the reason why I also believe that this is real, maybe it is a little bit more exuberance, but at least it is 80% of what people believe it is, and not complete bust, is because it actually provides a tangible benefit in a very intuitive manner. We feel that it gives something so basic, which does not require a tremendous aptitude to understand, does not require a many years of ROI. It just simply provides a one factor that I would say, and I'm sure there are more. I don't want to minimize the benefits of Gen AI, but I think the best way to understand the benefit of Gen AI, you can summarize in one word. It's called productivity. I think that the organizations will be able to do a lot more and a lot better what they do with an assistance of Gen AI, which means that they have talent, which is actually spending a good amount of their workday in doing things that is not actually aligning with the right use of their talent. I think Gen AI is supposed to take the load off that and allow those experts to do what they do best, what others can't do. That improves in both productivity of the items that can be actually processed through, but I think more importantly, the quality at which that it can process through, whether let that be the customer experience from an insurance perspective, let that be the actuarial pricing, or let that be an underwriting criteria or risk selections or claim adjudications. Many areas we have skills in the industry, and that's not something that's going to go away and replaced by AI tomorrow. But I think that if you just free up that talent from doing a lot of work that Gen AI can do, then they will be able to do what they're doing much better. And that would directly reflect in two ways. That will reflect, one, in an absolutely best-in-class customer and user experience that the insurance customers will get. And it will also reflect that into a measurable profitability, return on investment, turnaround time for an insurance company. And I think that's a win-win. And that's why I think it's not a hype. It's something that we're super excited and we're happy where we are in terms of. So we reached out to Microsoft because their OpenAI relationship, it was no secret that Microsoft has done that relationship. And as the ChatGPT hit in November of 2022, right away in December of 2022, after trying it out for a few days, I'm like, there is something here. So we met as a team in Majesco, and our first call went to Microsoft and saying, hey, what are you guys are doing? What are you thinking? Because keep in mind, they got CRMs and they got Microsoft Office and they got Windows and they have applications. So I'm sure that I thought that there is some kind of a use that they're going to do of this thing. And soon, obviously they were also sort of, evolving the vision at that point. And, it was a great partnership. And I can tell you all the great work we did in 5 years on the bringing the cloud eclipsed with all the excitement and the great work that we did with the CoPilot. We had a couple of iterations to get to the CoPilot, and hopefully we'll talk about that, a little bit later. But I can be more prouder of our team at Majesco. I can be more prouder of our partnership with Microsoft. And also I can be more prouder of a focus group of the customers that we actually consolidated to give us the feedback to where we are. We are absolutely an industry leader into the generative AI right now, and we intend to stay that way.
I think one of the interesting articles that came out last year, one of the big investment banks, RBC, had a report. They called generative AI as tech's fourth exponential capacity creator that will exponentially expand technology's capabilities on top of the previous three in aggregate: the internet, the cloud, and mobility. And I think we're only beginning to tap into the possibilities. So Sandeep, from your perspective, what are you seeing? I think that we've been really pushing the envelope here at what we're doing. We're the first cloud core system provider to have it embedded. What's your view on this whole thing and the partnership that has really accelerated with Gen AI?
First, I want to key off something that Manish talked about around the combined Gen AI journey, because I think it's really important. And that he talked about it being intuitive, because I think that's actually a really important driver that is sometimes lost in all the hype around Gen AI. Right? The reason we think we're in the middle of a fundamental platform shift actually starts with that. Because what Gen AI has done is that it lets us human interact using a natural language interface. There is nothing more intuitive than that, right? And we can get into what that does in terms of empowering people around the world, those who may not be, data scientists, to actually start tapping into the power, right, of AI and Gen AI. So that's first part, which is the natural language interface. I think it's really important. That makes it grounded. It makes it extremely intuitive. The second part is how you can then use that to get insights from and inference from the vast amount of data that we have built up, right, and digitized over the last few years, right? The digital estate keeps on doubling. I forget now what the exact timelines are. It's probably like, in months now, the amount of data that's digitized is doubling. What it now does is that it actually, using this natural language interface, now have powerful reasoning engines to reason through that data, be it structured, be it unstructured, and provide insights. So that's why we are, so excited about where we are and what the possibilities are. And you see, what we are doing with Majesco is just an illustration, right, of what the art of the possible is. And I would say, I would hazard a guess, and Manish, I hope you agree, we're still very early in tapping the true potential to get to what we know we are getting to, which is really empowering individuals, like the users of Majesco's software, right, to focus on what's important, right? I think Gen AI taken and done right will empower each and every one of us, because it will help us unlock creativity. It will help us truly innovate, because, I'm going back to when I started my career. I started a career I had an econometric background. So I was working with large data sets, not large by today's standards, but those days they were considered large data sets. I spent conservatively 70% of my time cleaning data, 20% documenting what I did, and 10% trying to get insights from it. That is going to change. And that, if you invert that pyramid, the sky's the limit. And I think that's where we are, right? So we are early innings, we are first innings, but going back to what Manish has been talking about, and hopefully something that comes out through this conversation we're having. This is a true partnership. We're in it together. We'll work together, and we will unlock value that we don't have line of sight into, but we know we'll get there.
So what are you two seeing as key areas of value, Manish, kind of some of the use cases, so to speak, that we're seeing value leveraging Gen AI in our initial implementations?
Our approach has been very iterative and incremental, because as Sandeep mentioned, which is absolutely right, we're in the first innings. I think there's a lot more exciting things yet to come on that front. And we just want to make sure that we're actually bundling those capabilities in form of use cases within our products and sort of pushing it into the field through our customers to get a real valuable feedback to say that where is it that they see the benefit. I think the early indications are clearly showing in few aspects, especially with the Gen AI. So just as a big quick background, similar to Microsoft Office CoPilot, I think Majesco launched Majesco CoPilot, which is basically an assistance, an AI, Gen AI assistant that is embedded within our core products. And the reason why we also chose the word CoPilot is because our philosophy is exactly the same. This does not replace an human being who's doing the work. It does not replace the pilot. It's just the co-pilot to have the pilot focus on the right things. So that's why we also named it as CoPilot, which is very apt. And what we did is that in our fall release of last year in October, we introduced the CoPilot to do a few tricks. And those tricks were amazing tricks that we got the feedback from the customers that, oh, they love this thing because they save so much of the time, which was mostly about getting the information in a natural language, in a simple answers from what is a very complex insurance policy or billing or claims, which means that anybody who has seen, like, for example, if I want to see that do I have an earthquake policy in my home insurance, I can figure that out. It's just going to take me some time. But if I ask my kids that, hey, can you check? They will say, I don't know what you're talking, because they don't know how to read the insurance policy either. And that is probably more norm than I am. But nonetheless, what if I just simply have saying, hey, do I have an earthquake coverage? And what's my deductible? if I just answer this and going through the policy information, going through all the forms, inclusion, exclusion information, and what it just gives me a simple answer that yes, you do, and $5,000 is your deductible. Oh my God, doesn't that simplify the life and doesn't that make the insurance humanized? So we launched out several of those capabilities, whether that being on the PNC, whether that being on the group insurance, because tell me, if you think that the PNC, reading PNC insurance policy is complex, wait till you get to the group insurance, because that will be even more complex. So we started rolling out those capabilities where really the customer service can get very productive. You can also, it can help agents to answer the questions on behalf of their customers. Customers directly can get it, but more importantly, insurance companies who has their CSRs, they can be more effective. And that was just the start of the journey. And as we said that this thing is evolving, what we are super excited about it is in this upcoming spring release, we're taking the CoPilot and telling them to do something even more, which is taking actions, not just inquiries, but just taking actions. And why is that important? And again, none of those things that the Copilot say that it's going to do, that user cannot do. Just think about it. Pilot can do what Copilot can do, right? So it is not about doing something that I can't do. It's about doing something that I can do, but I should not be doing it or save me some time. So from that perspective, we're adding actions, and actions meaning, hey, there are some things like, okay, I want to make a payment for a claim. I can learn that how to go through a menu, and I can go through 4 steps and enter 5 fields, and I don't know, but just kind of get through it if I'm seasoned, experienced user of a core system. But if I'm a new employee, maybe I have a learning curve and I still have to learn, and then I can still eventually do it. But what if I could just simply say that, okay, make a payment to the claim? Wait a second. So what? Well, the Copilot will actually understand that what you need, like tell me the claim number and tell me the payment number, and then it will just do it for you. So again, to Sandeep's point, it's a different way of doing transaction that takes away whole learning path. There's no learning curve left. And then it also makes things much more efficient in terms of the time that you spend. So we're taking the Copilot into this whole new era of actions. We are working with our customers in terms of which actions that are more repetitive, that requires a less expertise, then that should be just simply done by a Copilot. And that's how we're going to approach. So we're not saying that every action will be done by Copilot because that's silly. But at the same time saying that, okay, what can we just offload from our users so that this core system really is enabling our users to get the work done quickly without spending all that effort.
Sandeep?
Yeah, so if you look at what are the kind of use cases we are seeing, the ones that are most successful leverage the key strengths of Gen AI, which is the ability to understand and generate human-like text, analyze emotion, process vast amount of data efficiently, enable more personalized, accurate, and streamlined operations. Right, those are the kind of use cases where we see the most value. Manish, highlighted a few that we were that Majesco is working on around the claims process. We've also started seeing some around underwriting, around actuarial, and also contact centers. As an example, one of the things that can help underwriters is if the application details can be summarized and key issues and risk highlighted that they can focus on, right? So they can again use natural language to query through and get to what they need to so that they can make their underwriting decisions faster, better, and more securely. So those are the kind of use cases that we're seeing. I will say again that it's early days. There's a lot of experimentation, but there are few, Majesco being one of them, who are now not just experimenting, but letting it out in the wild. And there is no substitute for letting it out in the wild, because that's when you get the real feedback. And so the customer advisory board, Manish, you talked about, I'm sure you find that extremely valuable, right? Because that gives you direct feedback, what's working, what we need to do better. And so every iteration is going to get better and better.
And to be honest with you, Sandeep, I think it was that advisory board, we were not sure that would even people take this thing seriously. Because listen, the biggest problem with getting the new technology adopted, saying that, hey, it can do the work that you do. Suddenly there is a whole kind of apprehensions come saying that, wait a second, what are you talking about? So when we started this thing and started introducing and letting them try this thing out, we wanted to try a few things that what was their sentiment to begin with? And most of our focus group, customer users were, I would say 70% of were saying that, they don't buy it. It will work. And 30% of were saying, well, I'll just give it a try. But no one was like, yeah, this is a great thing in the sense of sliced bread. And by the end of it, most of those customers saying that, when can I have it? This is really, really powerful. This is really, really useful. So I think, and then we see them actually interact with CoPilot. And you can have a CoPilot capability, but you don't want to have yet another button in your system that nobody clicks on it. And we wanted to see that how they are going to interact with it, what they expect from it. And we got a really valuable insights and early insights that's going to actually factor into, our evolution of CoPilot.
That's it for this week's episode of Future of Insurance Industry Leaders podcast. Subscribe to our market-leading podcast series available wherever you get your podcast from. Thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in the next time.